Gervonta fan. I think that guy is so unusual. His style so unusual, and his patience.
The Leo Santa Cruz fight was really something for me because Leo Santa Cruz is a technician, Mexican style, and the fight was very close before Tank stopped him. But he has that power that can end it.
He finds these openings and he sees them, but he doesn't go after them right away. He waits for the right time. He's so patient. Like when you watch the early rounds of his fights, he probably has the lowest punch count in the early round. But he also knows he's got that nuclear option that if he can crack you, most likely he's going to take you out. He's got massive confidence.
Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is officially happening, and fans can't believe it. The YouTuber turned boxer is set to face one of boxing's biggest stars in a fight that's already getting major attention. Joe Rogan recently praised Gervonta on his podcast, talking about how sharp and focused he looks in training ahead of the fight. According to Rogan, Tank isn't just preparing, he's locked in like never before.
Jake Paul, Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but Jake Paul now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean, it's just fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, no, but dude,
Have
Jake,
you ever watch his highlights?
Jake can crack, man.
He's so sick. I love that guy, bro.
In boxing, so you got Canelo Crawford, you got Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, that's happening, and then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
that's
Paul, Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 130.
Rogan couldn't help but share how much he admires Gervonta Davis's style. He talked about how unique Tank is in the ring, pointing out that there's something different about the way he fights, almost like he's reading his opponent's every move. Rogan mentioned how Gervonta's patience stands out, and it's not something you see in many fighters today. He recalled Gervonta's fight with Leo Santa Cruz, saying that it really showed just how sharp and composed Tank can be under pressure. Even when the fight was close, Gervonta stayed calm, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That kind of timing, Rogan hinted, isn't just skill, it's instinct. Rogan also talked about how Gervonta doesn't rush in like most knockout artists. He waits, almost testing his opponents, and when he finally moves, it's usually the end for them. According to Rogan, that patience mixed with raw power is what makes Tank so dangerous. He's confident, calculated, and knows exactly when to pull the trigger.
I'm a giant Gervonta fan. I think that guy is so unusual. His style so unusual, and his patience.
The Leo Santa Cruz fight was really something for me because Leo Santa Cruz is a technician, Mexican style, and the fight was very close before Tank stopped him. But he has that power that can end it.
He finds these openings and he sees them, but he doesn't go after them right away. He waits for the right time. He's so patient. Like when you watch the early rounds of his fights, he probably has the lowest punch count in the early round. But he also knows he's got that nuclear option that if he can crack you, most likely he's going to take you out. He's got massive confidence in that.
When it came to the matchup, Joe points out how crazy the matchup looks when you think about the differences between the two fighters and how that changes everything. He frames it as the kind of thing that makes people double take and raises big questions about how real the clash will feel. He and his guests push back on treating this like a proper no-holds fight. They say the event feels more like an exhibition where nobody really walks away as the clear winner, and some on the show even shrug at the idea of it being a real scrap. That way of putting it keeps the hype loud while leaving room for doubt.
In boxing, so you got Canelo Crawford, you got Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, that's happening, and then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
that's
Paul, Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 135 versus 200. That is so nuts.
They're all exhibitions.
None of them are.
They're exhibitions.
But what does that mean?
Just means you don't really. Nobody wins.
They're not. It's kind of. I mean,
it's weird.
I don't want Jake to assume they're not. It's not like a real.
Joe also brings up two legends to make a point about attitude. He notes that when fighters truly dislike each other, especially at the highest level, the energy is different, and a real fight sounds inevitable. Using that idea, he compares how legends would react if the match were serious, and suggests the tone would shift from show to something much more dangerous.
Crap. It's not real.
Really? So they're not trying to knock each other out?
No, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather don't like each other. They have not liked each other forever.
Tyson and Mayweather.
Yes.
But they like
Mike Tyson and Mayweather don't like each other. If there's a fight that might be real, like where Mike Tyson might say, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out, or I'm going to try.
to knock this motherfucker
It would be.
out.
After Joe's reaction, another big voice from the boxing world stepped in with his own take. Terrence Crawford, known for being calm and sharp with his words, shared what he really thinks about this matchup. He didn't sound too convinced that this would play out like a fair contest, especially with the massive size difference between the two. He pointed out how hard it would be for someone smaller to deal with Jake's reach and power. The idea of a 135-pounder stepping in against someone close to 200 pounds just didn't sit right with him. Crawford sounded like he believed that once Jake lands clean, the whole fight could change in an instant.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. They just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over with.
Jeff Mayweather didn't hold back when he shared his thoughts on Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. He started by calling the matchup strange, pointing out how huge the difference in size is between the two. His tone made it clear that while the fight might grab attention, it doesn't really make much sense from a boxing perspective. He mentioned that the only thing that makes it somewhat acceptable is the fact that it's an exhibition. Since no official records are on the line, it's easier to let something like this slide. Still, the gap between a 200-pound fighter and someone who might come in around 150 just sounds too extreme, even for entertainment's sake.
It's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense. It's fine. He got a big name that he's going to be fighting. But I mean, it really makes no sense because he's going to be weighing over 200 and some pounds. Tank is going to probably be weighing maybe at the most 147, 150. So I don't even understand why the fight is happening.
After all the predictions from fighters and analysts, when Jake spoke about facing Tank, he framed it as more than just another show. He made it sound like a real test, something that would finally prove he's not just an entertainer playing boxer. That change in tone gave his words extra weight, turning his usual trash talk into a direct challenge that dared Tank to back down or step up.
The time has come to get in the ring with boxers.
Exactly. Fight a real boxer. Well, how about the man himself, an undefeated world champion, knockout artist, Gervonta Tank Davis?
He said that the fight won't go the distance. He didn't explain how or when, which kept everyone guessing, but the confidence in his delivery made the crowd react instantly. It wasn't just talk for attention anymore. It felt like a statement that someone's pride would take a hit, and Jake made sure Tank's name was right at the center of it.
I promise you, this fight is not going the distance. Someone is getting slept and humbled. The pressure is on, Gervonta, and I am beyond ready to pull off one of the greatest upsets in boxing history against an undefeated world champion, the biggest fight of 2025.
But the buzz only got louder once the press conference kicked off. That's where things really started to heat up. When asked about his position in the sport, Jake played it cool but confident. He said he still has a long way to go, describing this fight as the start of a new chapter in his career. Every fight, according to him, has silenced more critics, and this one would continue that pattern. He talked about how facing a top-level opponent would prove that his boxing journey isn't just a side project, it's real. He seemed determined to show that he belongs among the sport's elite, and that what he's building is something significant, not just for himself, but for boxing's evolution.
Do you believe you've basically cemented yourself as one of the best in the sport?
Nah, not yet. I'm just getting warmed up, but this will certainly shut up a lot more people. Each fight has done that so far. Only 5 years as a pro, and feels like the last fight I had was the end of chapter 1. This is the beginning of chapter 2. And I'm only 28 years old. I have a lot more to prove, and once I beat this guy, more people will shut up. But at the end of the day, I'm really still just getting warmed up in the sport, and I'm going to show how good I am. You know, this is a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter that I'm going to outbox. And truly, when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're going to be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually insane boxer. And I'm going to show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
Tank, on the other hand, didn't seem fazed. His reaction was short and calm, a quiet confidence that contrasted Jake's intensity, as if he was content to let the fight do the talking.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he gonna outbox me. Whoop-de-doo.
Chael Sonnen had a lot to say after watching Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis face off at the press conference. Chael broke down the current situation. He said he doesn't really like the spot Jake is in right now, because facing someone like Tank after just a handful of fights is a serious challenge. What stood out to him was how people are already focusing on Jake's size advantage, calling it unfair. But Chael pointed out that hidden in that criticism is actually a compliment. The public now expects Jake to win, which is new territory for him.
They do a press conference yesterday, Jake versus Tank. Do you know how hard of a proposition that is? You've had 8 fights. Any way you want to do it. Kickboxing, MMA, amateur, the pros, any way you want to do it. In your life, you've crawled through those ropes 8 times, and you're going to go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. And there is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. That is going to take a lot of courage, a lot of money, a lot of hard work, and it's meant to draw down. He's got this size. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's going to win.
But what really caught his attention was how unprepared Tank seemed throughout it.
Are you more interested in the fight now? Now, there was something interesting with Tank. And Tank was not ready for this. He, I feel, should have known.
Chael compared Tank's reaction to someone walking into a test without studying. He said Tank looked caught off guard, especially when Jake brought up his past controversy involving an alleged incident with a woman. That moment, according to Chael, changed the tone of the press conference instantly.
I have never had a test in my life where the teacher told us a test was coming up that I didn't prepare for it. I couldn't imagine walking into something. It could be the fight itself. I couldn't imagine not preparing for it. And Tank was simply caught off guard. This is what he does. He's a descendant of Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd did as good of a job as anybody at making sure those press conferences in that image and that character, and it was nothing more than that. It was a character, but he made sure that it was dynamic and compelling. And I just share for you, like, he wasn't ready.
With everything that's happened so far, from Joe Rogan's reaction to the predictions by Crawford and Jeff Mayweather, and Chael Sonnen's take on the press conference, this fight has become much more than anyone expected. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is no longer just about skill or size. It's about pride, focus, and who's ready to back up their words when the lights come on. The tension between them is real, and fight night feels like it's going to explode with energy. But what do you think? Is Jake really ready to outbox a fighter like Tank, or will Tank's experience take over? Let us know what you think in the comments below.